Welcome to Module 6, Agency Qualification and Past Performance of the CDOT Fiscal Year 2015 Grant Application Technical Assistance modules. During this module, you will learn information that will be helpful to think about when you're filling out the agency qualification/past performance section of your grant application. Just like the last webinars, we're going to continue to discuss our Fake County project, and Jan is here with me. Hi, Jan.
Hi.
So let's look at the guidance from CDOT around this section.
So as we can see on the CDOT grant application, the agency qualification and past performance section is worth 10 points. In this section, they would like us to describe our resources and skills to adequately manage the project. We need to briefly describe qualifications of staff, so that would be us, or the plans that we have to train the staff who will work on the proposed project, including fiscal staff. If our project involves direct contact with youth, we need to provide information on how criminal background checks are conducted for paid and volunteered staff. Additionally, we need to think about if this project has previously been funded by CDOT. If yes, we need to provide details on past performance and how this project met goals and objectives in previous years. I guess that this kind of information would help them decide if we completed our last project as they suspected, and then they have confidence in funding us again.
Yeah, I think that's true. If you have received funding previously, CDOT's really looking for whether you were a successful grantee, whether you were compliant in terms of reporting and that kind of thing, and then also how successful were you at achieving your goals and objectives, versus if you've been funded before and you maybe didn't do such a good job of keeping up with things and didn't achieve your outcomes or do what you said you were going to do, that might mean that you lose some points on this section. If you haven't had any grant applications before, I don't think that loses you points in here, but they do want to mention it because I think it gives you a little leg up if you've been successful in the past. Let's look at the performance evaluation criteria for this section. So this question's asking, did the applicant specify staff qualifications including fiscal and project management experience and staff experience provided is relevant and adequate to administer the project? Clearly demonstrate that the agency's resources and skills are adequate to manage the proposed project. If relevant, are background checks conducted, and if you've received previous funding, was past performance adequate? So this section, I think I might not have, if I wouldn't have read the evaluation criteria, I might not have thought about including our fiscal experience. But clearly that's part of the evaluation criteria. So in addition to talking about the two of us and maybe our other key players, we definitely want to mention how our fiscal stuff works at our agency. We might not have done that before. I think as we develop our outline for this might be a good place to do some of the tricks that the grant writing training mentioned in Module 1 around using bolds or italics when we really want to call out specific pieces of the grant or this section that we want to highlight so that the reviewers see it easy. So let's just talk about what the key things are here, and then we can decide how to organize our outline. We need to describe our agency's resources and skills to adequately manage the project, and this is sort of defined as briefly describe the qualifications of staff. So maybe we could write a header here that was key project staff qualifications, and we might make that underlined just so that the reader can see it. And then under this, let's list both of us here since we're the key people that are going to be working on the project. So I'll list your name here. How do you spell your last name?
Leonard.
There we go. And you are the project manager. And then we can list here some of your experience and duties, and then we'll list me. So I'll type my name here. And on this project, I'm going to be the program coordinator, and and just assist. So under here, we definitely want to include some key things. I don't think we need to spend time now going through how to wordsmith this and make this, but some key things to include here is how much time will you dedicate to the project? What will you do? What is your background? Experience. And then we particularly, since you're the project manager, want to know about your project management experience. Right? So I think that hits most of what your qualifications are going to be. So this is going to clearly say how much time you're going to be dedicated on the project, what exactly you're going to do, and then what your background and experience is so that we're confident that you're going to be great at doing what we outline here. The other important thing for this section is to make sure that if you do put a percent FTE, so let's say, Jan, that you're going to be 0.5 FTE, or we could say Ms. Leonard is going to dedicate 50% of her time to the proposed project, as a sentence, for example. We want to make sure that this 50% that we put here is matching whatever we put in the budget narrative. It's when I write grants, it's one of the things that I have to make sure to do at the very end, because a lot of times you're playing with the budget as you go, and it's a real common mistake to not make things sync up. And not that you lose a huge amount of points for it, but it makes the reviewer kind of question, like, do they really have the experience, because they couldn't even get this piece right. So make sure that it's there. But I think those are the key things to include. And then we'll want to know the same information for me. And so maybe, since we're both working on this project and together, maybe we can just go in and fill out this section for each of us.
Okay.
And then we can, that way you can write what you see your duties are, I can write my duties, and we can make sure that really makes sense, and that's what we need for the project. I think, though, so are there any other people that we might want to involve?
I don't know that we have any other people to include, but it also mentions that we have to put the agency's resources. Is that the same as this? Or is that separate?
I think that would be in here, but I think maybe it's a different header.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean by agency resources?
Well, underneath the instructions it says describe the applicant agency's resources. So I'm just a little bit confused if that means, like, what does our agency in Fayette County have to offer?
Oh, that's a good point. So maybe we'll make that, I think that flows maybe a little better to put up as the first thing. So maybe we can just call it agency background.
Okay.
And here we can talk about of our organization, number of years experience, maybe our mission.
Yeah, I think that would fit well.
How many total staff? And things like that. So I think that that's a great suggestion. So we'll put that there. And then after the agency, then I think it flows to talk about how we plan to staff the proposed project. So I think that is good.
Right. And I just realized we even talked about this. I forgot the fiscal staff.
Oh, right. So we better put them here, since we do have a specific fiscal officer. Fantastic fiscal for Fayette County, and this person is going to be our fiscal officer. So this will probably want the same kind of information for the fiscal officer, but it will all be dedicated to the budget.
Okay.
Or on money management. So as you can see here, we're just making an outline, so we're not going to spend time, but we're just making sure before we start really writing and fleshing this out that we've got everything planned out so that we don't forget anything. All right, so also in this section, we need to talk about background checks because we do have some youth projects. Now, for us, we're not actually going to be the people implementing the programming in the schools. That's going to be done by teachers and students that are already there. We're just kind of giving them the curriculum and the support and coordinating with the administrators and not working directly with the youth ourselves. So I don't think we have to get background checks, but we should probably explain that so that they're not wondering, since we do have that in our proposal.
Right.
So here I'm just going to put note, talk about how the project in the schools will be facilitated by school staff who already have background checks.
To even be working in the school, right?
And then, you know, our organization will not be working directly with children. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
And then now we need to talk about previous funding.
Right, and even, I mean, we kind of mentioned that we had done those seatbelt, observational seatbelt surveys. That was part of our CDOT funding, wasn't it?
That was part of our funding, I believe. So maybe we want to speak to how many years we've received CDOT funding,
Okay.
and outline some of our key outcomes that we have achieved using their dollars.
I guess they will also see that we've kind of changed our focus a little bit each year depending on the problem ID, and even though we're working, you know, sometimes with a lot of times with youth, that sometimes we change our approaches or the overarching objectives and goal.
Yeah, key outcome, outline key outcomes. We change our project approach for each grant, and that we have not been funded for this exact project before.
Right. And I guess also that, you know, our history has been very good with them. We turn in our reports on time. You know, I think we've turned in our money requests and budgets as we were supposed to, so I think that's going well for us.
Yeah, and reimbursement. Yeah, and invoices. And I think that's it. So let's just do a double check with our evaluation criteria and make sure that we haven't forgotten anything that is in here. All right, so first, did we specify staff qualifications, including fiscal and project management experience of staff involved, and is it relevant for this project?
Yep, we almost forgot the fiscal staff, but we did get it in there.
Yeah, so obviously we still have to write this, but we've got the placeholders in there for that information.
Right.
And then did we clearly demonstrate that our agency's resources and skills are adequate to manage the proposed projects?
We did. We told them our agency's history, and then we even gave some additional information about our past performance.
And then background checks we mentioned, so that is good. And then if the applicant received previous funding, was past performance adequate?
I think so.
I think so too. Probably when we write this section out, it will maybe be to the end of this page, but really not much more than that. So I think we can be concise, but I do think I like how we put in the underlines and the bolds, because when the reviewers read, it should be super easy to pick out that evaluation criteria that they're looking for. Our next section that we need to address is community collaboration and support. So stay tuned for the next webinar for tips about how to fill out that section of the application.